We turn now to new inflation numbers. They've just been released, and it shows inflation rose by more than expected in March by 0.4%, and it's up 3.5% since this time last year. ABC News correspondent Elizabeth Schulze is here for more. So, Elizabeth, what is the overall impact of this new report? Does it really confirm what many Americans have been feeling, the squeeze in their wallets, the cost of groceries, everything?
It does, Morgan. This shows that inflation is stubbornly high, and especially when you're looking at a lot of those everyday expenses for people. Food prices didn't go up by as much last month, but they are still high. Housing prices continue to go up. Rent was one of the big reasons why prices were significantly higher or higher than expected in this report. Same thing goes with gas prices. We've been seeing those ticking up over the past month. The other expense here that people are looking at is services. So when you think about the things you spend on your day-to-day life, medical care, car insurance, those costs that are just monthly expenses continue to tick up higher, and that's one of the reasons why we're seeing this persistently high inflation. Obviously, that is very frustrating for households at home when they're looking at their budgets, but this is also a frustrating report, Morgan, for the Fed, because the Federal Reserve have been hoping to see that this underlying inflation trend was cooling, that inflation has been coming down enough that as soon as June, it would be able to lower interest rates. Remember, the Fed started raising interest rates because it wanted inflation to come down. That's been happening, but what this report shows that it is not quite ready to cut those rates yet. A lot of economists right off the bat here are saying we had hoped for June. It's looking like people might have to wait a little bit longer. And what that means is if you've been wanting your mortgage rate to come down, your credit card borrowing costs, you're probably going to have to wait a little bit longer, Morgan.
Yeah, you pointed out that frustration that many consumers are feeling. But look, is there any hopeful news for consumers here?
Right. Big picture, this 3.5% inflation rate is a lot better than that 9% peak that we saw 2 years ago. So when you're looking at how much prices are going up, the good news is that 3.5 isn't as high as it was a couple years ago. So prices aren't going up as fast as they were. And there were a couple of areas in this report. I was trying to find the good news for people. When you look at car prices, both used and new cars, those prices were down over the past month on a monthly basis. Airfare was also down. So some of the costs for travel that we've seen really spiking, and those costs have been really volatile on a monthly basis. But the problem's still kind of that underlying trend with those day-to-day expenses still high. The hope is that that will continue to moderate, but what we've seen is getting down from 9% inflation to 3%. That has been progress. That's what people want to see. This goal to get back to 2%, which is the Fed's target, is taking a little bit longer than they'd hoped. And the other thing I just should mention, Morgan, the stock market, this is a big impact on Wall Street. Wall Street's really going to look at this report. Initially, this is not good news when you're thinking about what it might mean for your 401k, but a lot to digest in terms of what this will mean for the stock market if this means that inflation is going to stick around for longer.
For the third straight month, prices have gone up more than expected, from the rising cost of car insurance and repairs to how much you're paying at the grocery store every week.
Do you know how much one of these costs? $2
This was $200.
We supposed to skip the power bill this month so we can buy groceries, or the mortgage?
Before the pandemic, all of these groceries, about 30 items, cost $100 on average. Now, 5 years later, according to Nielsen IQ, all this costs 33% more, meaning you'd have to skip about 10 items like chicken, bread, milk, and bananas to make your $100 budget.
Tonight, Americans hoping to see the Federal Reserve cut interest rates as early as June may now have a longer wait, with inflation climbing for the third straight month.
The prices is too high.
The Consumer Price Index up 3.5% in March from a year ago, fueled by higher costs for rent, car insurance, clothes, medical care, and gas.
I used to fill it up for $35. It was a beautiful thing.
And now it's 45.
45, and sometimes it's 60 between food and gas. It's had a big impact.
At Alexandria Jones Vintage Shop in Chicago, rent just jumped from $1,400 to $1,800 a month.
I have to do a sale. I have to bring people in just so I can be able to deal with what is, the inevitable of my rent being $400 more than it was.
To combat inflation, the Fed increased borrowing costs to a 22-year high, making it more expensive to pay for a new mortgage, car, or credit card debt.
All right, guys, Bidenomics at its full force. As you heard on the news, economy is doing great. Inflation is low according to the Democrats, right? But whoever says otherwise is a bigot, is a racist, and a xenophobe. or all the phobias and the phobes and anything that has to do with race and culture. If you say anything against the Bidenomics effect on people. So as you heard from ABC News, prices are high, everything's tripled, and so she said it's lower from the 9% to the 3% inflation. But what they don't mention is that once that 9% hit, the prices never came down. Right? So it stayed as high and it went even higher. So they added another 3.5% to it. So they don't say that to you guys because they want to show an illusion that inflation is down. Inflation is not down. Inflation is higher than ever. Food prices are higher than ever. Everything's higher than ever. And if you guys heard from the recent story, California just increased their minimum wage to $20 an hour, where the 99-cent store ended up closing their doors. 370 stores statewide closed because they cannot sustain the prices of minimum wage being at $20. I mean, 99 cents store, they're already on a very thin profit margin, and imagine giving up that profit margin, being at a total loss. That's insane. That is insane. But nevertheless, we have the ducks from The View, giving their opinion because they're the smartest of the smartest, right? They are one group of independent, powerful women on The View making millions of dollars and have opinions. So let's listen to what they have to say.
I hear when I talk to undecideds is the grocery bills are.
Yes, but if people knew civics, they would know that that's not his. Listen,
there are absolutely things that Biden can do to address it, and grocery prices have jumped 25% over 4 years.
What can he do?
Hang on real quick. This is the reality. It's the most immediate and repetitive thing. You have to buy groceries every week.
We get that. Get all of that. But the question is, what do you want him to do? Because what can he do?
He can challenge the major grocery chains if he wants to. There are things that he can do with that. He can encourage the Fed to do.
Can he take them to court?
So far, we're in a free country.
Because I would say,
let her answer.
No, there are a number of things that can be done, but to just say, I wash my hands, it's not my problem, you can't afford groceries.
Can he take them to court? Because
no, it's not a matter of taking them to court.
I see what you're saying. Even as campaigning on things like that helps, because I think also making room for immigration would be helpful here. One of the things, if you're looking towards the election, if you want to grab people and get them voting, immigration is one of the most agreed upon problems.
But here's the problem. He goes and he takes care of what he's supposed to be taking care of, which is the bridge and how to open it. Hold on,
I don't think that's what Ron Klain was saying. He was talking about him going to ribbon cutting the infrastructure projects. I get you might have sounded tone deaf with the bridge.
But here's the thing. People are bitching if he does stuff. They bitch if he doesn't do stuff. Listen, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. But I'm pissed off. I'll tell you
Americans are spending 11% of their income on food.
I'm an American. I'm a little pissed off about having over-the-price stuff, but I tell you what I'm really pissed off about. I'm really pissed off that people seem to think that the American citizen is a wallet where you can just get your hand in there. That's what I want to talk. I want to talk about why the people in New Jersey now are facing not just getting the prices raised on the buses and trains. No, this is on the Jersey side.
Yeah, I know, but it's all part of the same.
But the congestion pricing isn't making me as nuts as
I just want to underscore, because I think it's a fair point. There's not like one box he can check and suddenly grocery prices go down. That would be ridiculous to suggest. But what is being told by advisors is you need to speak to what people are feeling. You need to speak to this very real reality. I make a lot of money. I put a red onion back the other day because it was $4.99. That's ridiculous.
So you heard, Whoopi couldn't even say what Biden can do. Well, you know what? Biden can stop the push on minimum wage increase. Biden can actually stop funding stupid wars, because that's defunding the country, because that's how much money is being sent overseas, where that money can be spent here to actually provide goods to the people. Biden can start charging tariffs, and by doing that, it brings the cost down. We get more income coming into the country. Biden can actually open up some incentive for farmers, so farmers can actually farm and provide goods. So there's a lot of things Biden's can do to lower the inflation. But the main thing are the interest rates. Interest rates are higher. It's more expensive to borrow money. And I'm not saying bring the interest rate down to like the 1 or 2% where now everybody's borrowing fake money, because it's you're creating fake wealth, right? 3 or 4% is where rates should be, which is very it's doable, and everybody can actually borrow money, to include corporations, so they could reinvest into their own company and all that stuff. But grocery stores, food items, everything's high. Everything's gone up more than 30%, 30 to 50%. As you guys remember, I've been saying peanut oil. This is I don't know why I keep going back to peanut oil, but 3-gallon jar used to be $30 and now it's $60, right? Peanut butter, and I'm giving you guys Costco prices. Peanut butter used to be $8.99, now it's $13.99. So a lot of things have increased in prices. I shop at Costco because I have a large family, so I gotta buy things in bulk, and the people from The View, they don't understand anything, because one of them does, the one that pretends to be a conservative. She said, "Oh, I put an onion bag because an onion was $4." Right? Who can afford an onion being $4? Onion, a bag, should be about $3 or $4, right? But what happens is when they push for all these minimum wage increases, that's going to increase everything else behind it, because those companies need to pay extra money, right? And for all the people who's like, oh, why these corporations need to work for profit? Well, it's a capitalist system. Because if I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to save money and take the risk and put up all that money to make money, I'm assuming all the risk. So I need to see if that risk was worth it. So I need to make money out of the investment that I made. And, once I make more money, once I'm profitable, I can expand. Basically, the more money that comes in allows me to create more jobs, to create more goods. So it's going to be a bigger picture, right? So, they keep saying, oh, corporations need to pay their fair share of taxes. And, and Whoopi, you heard Whoopi said, oh, American people, they feel like they are the wallet, and, people going into the wall. Well, duh. When you send all this money to stupid wars like Ukraine and Israel and Palestine, that's our money being sent out. When you have all these illegals coming in and states funding these stupid programs for these illegals walking in, millions of them, where do you think that money's coming from? It's not coming from the government. The government's taking it from us. That's where our money's going. So you better check yourself who you're voting for, because that ultimately is going to pay the price. We're going to pay the price. We are paying the price. But look, if you're rich, if you make a lot of money, and you're in that top 1% of the category, this does not affect you a bit. You are not affected a bit. But if you're in the middle class, that's where you're going to get hurt. If you're poor, you're getting money anyways. You're on the welfare system, you're going to get the money anyway, so you don't really feel the pinch. Middle class is where they're going to hit the pinch. They're going to feel it. They're the one that they're going to hurt the most. The middle class is going to be reduced down to the lower class or the poor category. So, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you are hurting yourself. I mean, it's one of those things that, people, keep it to themselves. But I know I'm hurting because, I'm spending more money than I used to on groceries and all that stuff. And I do have a big family. I don't regret having a big family. I regret having Biden as the president. And but yeah, so let me know what you think, guys. Peace out.